But our big story that we are breaking, the latest in the battle on vaccinations. India's first vaccine for children above the age of 12 was approved today by the drug regulator for emergency use. Zydus Cadila Zycov-D will get emergency use authorization. Zycov-D is India's first needle-free 3-dose vaccine. So that comes from Zydus Cadila. What does this vaccine really mean for India's fight against the COVID vaccine? Milan Sharma now joins me. Milan, presumably this vaccine is primarily for those in the age group of 12 to 18?
Yes, Rajdeep. In fact, the government's priority at this point is to vaccinate children at least from the ages of 12 to 18. So this is India's first vaccine that will now be administered to children between the ages of 12 to 18 and above. Zycov-D, made by Zydus Cadila, is also the first DNA vaccine to have been made anywhere across the world. So India's made it indigenously. It's based on a DNA vaccine platform, which is a very unique technique. And they have received the emergency use authorization in India. So we're looking forward to the rollout because schools have opened. We have seen how children are testing positive, and we need protection for children as well. With 66% protection, the Department of Biotechnology has also given it a go-ahead and done the trials on children in the country, which is why right now we are looking at an EUA, which is an emergency use authorization, and soon we'll be looking out at the rollout of the vaccine, which will be needle-free. Let me tell you, it will be applied via an applicator and will have 3 doses. So this is a 3-shot vaccine, apart from the others that we have today that are 2-dose vaccines.
When does the rollout start? Because authorization given, how soon does the rollout start?
Well, Rajdeep, the rollout should take a month more because already the government is in talks with the Zydus Cadila company. They've begun the stockpiling of the vaccine already. So we should see the rollout anywhere in less than a month from the EUA that's been given today.
Okay. That breaking news coming in from Milan Sharma. We'll of course have more details on that in the days ahead. Let's turn from there to our top political story of the day, and it's coming from the opposition meeting that was chaired by Congress's interim President Sonia Gandhi. The meeting was attended by 18 other opposition parties. The aim very clear, as Sonia Gandhi said. We want to fight the 2024 elections together against the BJP. While Mrs. Gandhi urged the parties to rise above their differences, the fact is that many opposition parties are still not comfortable with the Congress's leadership. The Samajwadi Party and the BSP stayed away. The Aam Aadmi Party was not even invited. The opposition has meanwhile released an 11-point charter which includes demands to cut fuel prices, scrap the farm laws. Is the opposition unity for real? Can the opposition really challenge Mr. Modi's government? Here's a report.
Opposition unity seems to be the flavor of the season. The parties that came together to block Parliament have once again come on a single platform. 19 political parties attended the virtual meeting called by Congress's interim President Sonia Gandhi on Friday to build a common strategy against the BJP. Mamata Banerjee, Uddhav Thackeray, Mehbooba Mufti, M.K. Stalin were among those who attended. At the meeting, Sonia Gandhi appealed to the opposition parties to unite against the BJP. She called for a common strategy for the 2024 Lok Sabha elections. Pointing out how opposition unity worked inside the parliament, the Congress leader urged all parties to show the same zeal outside the house too. Sonia exhorted the parties to bury their differences in the national interest.
जितने भी पार्टियां हैं जो आज के दिन इस संवैधानिक व्यवस्था एक धर्मनिरपेक्ष जनतंत्र का गणराज्य जो भारत है उसको सुरक्षित बचाने के लिए तैयार है और जनता की समस्याओं को हल करने के लिए तैयार है, तो आए, वो हमारी पूरी स्वागत है.
Sonia Gandhi's meeting comes after similar gatherings led by Rahul Gandhi, Kapil Sibal, Mamata Banerjee and Sharad Pawar. Opposition unity, however, seems to be a long way away. For instance, the two biggest parties of India's most populous state were missing at Sonia Gandhi's meet. The Samajwadi Party and the Bahujan Samaj Party were invited, but both decided to skip it. The Aam Aadmi Party wasn't invited at all.
आज की मीटिंग कांग्रेस ने बुलाई थी, कई पार्टियों ने अटेंड किया, जिसमें 2024 या एक अन्य रणनीति जिसमें देश और प्रदेशों के अहम मुद्दे शामिल थे। हमें आशा है कि आगे चलकर भी हम ऐसी असफल सरकार को घेरेंगे।
And then there are the fence sitters, parties like TRS, YSR Congress and BJD, who come from states that have 63 Lok Sabha seats. But these parties seem not ready to commit yet.
Leaders of 19 opposition parties met, but a united front ahead of 2024 remains an unfinished agenda without SP and BSP. The Gandhis, though, did manage to send the message across that they are very much in control of the party affairs and that they mean business. With camera person Ashwini, this is Anand Patel in New Delhi for India Today.
So let's raise some big questions at the top. Sonia Gandhi, is she really the best bet to unite the opposition against the BJP? Are direct contests between the opposition, for the opposition, the only way to fight the BJP? Can the opposition parties really bury their differences? And who will lead any opposition grand alliance that is being proposed? I'm joined by Supriya Srinath, Congress's spokesperson, by Yogendra Yadav, President Swaraj India, also one of the country's foremost analysts on politics in a previous avatar. Om Prakash Mishra is the TMC spokesperson joining me, and Priyanka Chaturvedi is the Shiv Sena MP joining me. Appreciate all of you joining us. Let's come to you, Supriya Srinath. I want to understand what this meeting was all about. Is it to establish the control and authority of the Gandhis over the Congress? The Congress trying to send out a message to all the parties that, look, without us you can't forge any opposition unity. Why this meeting now, more than 10 days after the parliament session is over? What was the purpose? What was the intent?
Rajdeep, firstly, I want to place certain things on record. So, good evening to everybody, your viewers and your panel, and of course you. I want to tell you that opposition unity is coming together of a process. We were together in the parliament. We asked the government tough questions. The government had no answers to any of the questions that we raised on Pegasus snooping, on farm laws, on high prices, on unemployment, on COVID mismanagement. No answers whatsoever. This is a coming together of the process. This unity that was displayed today and has been displayed all along is representation of 60% of India's population, of the electorate. So you may deny it, the BJP may mock it, but the reality is they shiver at the sight of this. I also want to put certain things before the media. I heard your report, and your report kept on saying the SP was not a part. Akhilesh Yadav ji had sent a letter because there was a bereavement in his extended family and his party could not attend. They were all in Safai. This was placed on record by
that's
a joint
Akhilesh,
statement that was
that's
released by
Akhilesh
the-
Yadav's claim.
Let me
That's
finish.
his claim. That's his claim. There is a
Let me
belief
finish,
that the
please.
Samajwadi Party is uncomfortable
let me
ahead of
finish.
the UP elections with giving the Congress a leadership position. That's part of the problem.
Rajdeep, please let me finish.
Yes.
I think it's only fair that you let me finish.
Yes.
The statement that was issued jointly by 19 parties together representing 60% of India's electorate very categorically states Akhilesh Yadav ji was sent this statement and he has shown his commitment to it. So I'm not going to go with what you tell me on the show. I will go with what the opposition parties are telling the country. They have put together a united front. Their demands are very, very simple. They are voicing the concerns of the people. This is not about Congress, like you say, trying to show what it can or cannot do. This is about the coming together of Indian democracy, because this government in power has undermined every right, every institution, every democratic process, and an entire nation as a result has been pushed into poverty, unemployment, backwardness, and this is the voice that we want to raise. Now, truth be told, I can give you names of 40 parties that are part of the BJP, and there's a musical chair that happens, and how 19 allies have quit the BJP since 2014. But that's not the objective. The objective is that people are willing to set aside their minor differences and come together for a larger cause, because we do believe that India's democracy is under threat under this government, and we will unitedly fight them. That's what we are here to do.
Okay, I'll come to those differences a little later, but what is this larger cause that you're coming together, Priyanka Chaturvedi, for? Is it simply, as the cynics are saying, that the one-point agenda that unites all these groups is the fear of Narendra Modi and the BJP having an extended spell in power, which means that all of you become marginal players? The Shiv Sena is now part of an alliance with the Congress, a party with which over the years they had major differences. Is this all about survival? This alliance is actually coming together slowly only because of sheer survival.
So, as much as I respect whatever India Today has been speaking and has been arguing, it was India Today's Mood of the Nation poll which actually showed where Mr. Narendra Modi stands in the minds of the people. I will not even get into the relevance of opposition parties.
I'm going to come to that poll in a moment.
The reason I'm not getting into it because 19 political... No, please allow me to speak, Rajdeep. Of course, you will come to it. But my point about, your news report saying, oh, look who controls the narrative. Oh, look who's working at controlling the country's narrative. I think this entire idea of controlling narrative is something that India is not used to and Indians are not used to. And 60% of India's population coming together on one platform through 19 opposition parties should be a matter of concern.
No, where have you got this, ma'am? Sorry to intervene again. Where did you get this 60% figure? Where has this 60% figure come from? Because the Biju Janata Dal, the TRS, the YSRCP, the Aam Aadmi Party are not part of it. The BJP got more, NDA Alliance got more than 40% of the vote last time. So where is this 60% coming from?
Mr. Sardesai, I'll tell you. Mr. Sardesai, you've been chronicling the elections for past 2 terms, right? 2014, you've chronicled through a book. 2019, you've chronicled through a book. And I know you understand the politics of it all and how people of India work towards democracy continuing to sustain despite people looking all powerful. Like Mr. Modi continues to look for you in the eyes of the media. But let's say BJD is out of the system. Let's say TRS is out of the system. In 2014, this was a challenge, 2004, I'm sorry. In 2004, this was something which was spoken about often. When we are talking about India shining, when Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee is undefeatable, there is no phase of the opposition, there are not many opposition parties getting together. There was an opposition which was gathering momentum. There could be many parties which were standing, were neutral to this entire idea. But they also hopped along with the idea once there was an election which happened. So do not rubbish everything that comes your way. And do not rubbish how Indian people think of it simply because. Please, no, you may not be rubbishing, but there's an entire section which is trying to rubbish, which includes the government of the day. Please, let's not forget, unemployment, poverty, COVID mismanagement, vaccine shortage, farmer distress, the prices that are rising, the fuel prices that are rising, and some ridiculous defense coming from the finance minister to the petroleum minister is something that people of this country are watching.
Okay.
Don't just laugh off at the opposition, don't just laugh off at the 60% of India's population because they want to discuss this, just because the government does not want to discuss this. Someone who may look all powerful to you right now may not be powerful in 2024, but we are not even talking about 2024. We are talking about an opposition coming together in a monsoon session which asks the government and which asks them to be accountable, asks them to be transparent, refused to do that. And we saw a government which refused to answer any questions, trying to roughshod the opposition, being questioned by the people of this country. And that's where I think the finger lies, where mood of the nation is concerned, and that's what you should be discussing.
I'm going to stop you for a moment because it's interesting that you said this is not just about 2024, but Sonia Gandhi made it very clear that she wanted to build an alliance for 2024, rising above differences. That's a good point on which to come to you, Mr. Mishra of the TMC. Because look at the differences. At this meeting, there were Mamta Banerjee and Sitaram Yechury. Are you telling me that Mamta Banerjee and Sitaram Yechury can work together? Can you give any kind of assurance on that? And Mamata Banerjee herself reportedly said at the meeting that why are parties like the Aam Aadmi Party, or she, without mentioning them, why are certain parties kept away? I want to understand, can the opposition come together on a clear common agenda beyond anti-Modism? Isn't that what it is? What is this agenda? Is it about issues or is it about an individual?
It is about the issues, and in fact the issues have already been put down in writing. In fact, there is a statement also from our chairperson Mamata Banerjee, and we have
no, Sitaram Yechuri and, no, 1 minute. Sitaram Yechuri and Mamata Banerjee are on the same page?
I'm coming.
Sitaram Yechuri and Mamata Banerjee are on the same page?
Yeah, why not? In fact, yes, all the more reason that they should be on the same page, and we are on the same page so far as BJP's is concerned.
Okay.
And given the abysmal record of the BJP government and the massive mismanagement of the public health or of the economy, or even in certain other sectors which are emerging very quickly, we can very well see that the opposition parties, they united in the parliament, and now that process is going to get further strengthened. Mamata Banerjee gave a call for this on 21st July, and it is very important that opposition political parties are under the chairpersonship of Sonia Gandhi ji, this happened. And you are right, and we have said that not only political parties which actually are against the BJP and want to work with the opposition, and not only those who are presently aligned with us, but also those who are not aligned with, say, with the Congress party, they should be brought in. For example, CPI-ML should be invited, they should be very much there. Why? Because they have been part of the RJD-led alliance in Bihar, and they are quite positively going to work for the opposition.
So you want
similarly, some other political parties which are not aligned with the BJP, they should also come in.
Interesting. So you want even a bigger, grander alliance.
We would like all the opposition parties
to come together. Okay, that is there.
Definitely, it is very much necessary, and Trinamool Congress has very clear.
Okay, let me come to the graphics, and then just a minute. Let me come to the Mood of the Nation poll that we did, which is in the latest India Today magazine. And therefore, Yogendra Yadav, because you were critical, you were saying, why aren't you playing up these figures? Let me play up these figures and then get your perception on it. I hide nothing. We hide nothing here at India Today. It's there. The magazine is there for everyone to read. Now, these are the numbers. This is what the poll says. Take a look at critical numbers in the poll. The first is, when a question was put, who would you vote? What if elections were held today? What would happen? This is what the poll said. If elections were held today, the BJP would get 269 on its own, and the NDA would get 298. The Congress would get 59. So there's a huge gap between the Congress and the BJP. Interestingly, others are 215. So the story is that others were growing in the poll. The regional parties were growing as the seat share. Remember, BJP on its own, Congress on its own, add the UPA, they become larger. Then we asked the question, and this was an interesting question that has produced much comment. Who would you want as your Prime Minister? Now, this is what our poll showed. When it was in January of this year, the poll showed that Narendra Modi now is getting 24% as opposed to 66% in January. Take a look at the others. Yogi Adityanath was second. He was getting 11% as per the polls. Rahul Gandhi was getting 10%. Then there were a number of leaders like ARVIND, KEJRIWAL, Mamata Banerjee, who were getting 8% each. Amit Shah had 7%. So if you add the entire BJP group, they get about 40-odd%. But the significant thing is, Mr. Modi's popularity in terms of PM was 66% 8 months ago. It's now down to 24%. Let's take a look at the next question that was asked. And this is an interesting one again. We asked the question with reference to opposition leaders. What would happen? Who among the opposition do you think is best placed to challenge Mr. Modi? And here is what the poll said then. The poll at that time on who among the present opposition leaders put Mr. KEJRIWAL at the top choice at that moment. It also asked, Congress better off without the Gandhis? Divided opinion. Yes was 45%, no was 46%. So split on that question. And the fourth one, as I said, among opposition leaders, who is best placed to take on the BJP? that is the non-Congress opposition leaders, and the name of Kejriwal came up strongly. These were the numbers that came up. Kejriwal was 20%. You had Mamata Banerjee at 17%. These were the top two candidates, and then Nitish Kumar at 8%. Now, Yogendra Yadav, when you look at all these numbers, the big picture seems to be, yes, Prime Minister's popularity is down. Only 24% were putting his name forward, but none of the opposition leaders were gathering momentum. So, the impression I get even after today's meeting is that while the country may have some weariness with Mr. Modi as per this poll, they don't see any option in the opposition leaders.
That's right, Rajdeep. Therefore, we need to focus on the big picture. Today is the day for big picture. We are not into forming an alliance or coalition right now. In the face of a government which is authoritarian and incompetent, in the presence of a prime minister who used to be very popular, whose popularity has taken a nosedive, it is not surprising that the talk of opposition unity is the flavor of the season, as your report says. To my mind, this is the moment to remember three basics. Number one, opposition unity is necessary but not sufficient. Even if you were to come, of course, 63% people did not vote for BJP, so there is an opposition that needs to be brought together. But just bringing them together is not going to do magic. Opposition needs a glue and a glow, which they lack currently. They need to be able to generate hope amongst people, and that's what your figures are showing, that they are unable as of today to generate that hope, that excitement, that credibility. Number two, opposition unity will eventually be critical closer to the election, but this is not the most critical issue today. Today, it's not the electoral unity that matters. It is political cohesion. Opposition needs to convince the people of this country, not that they want to come up against Mr. Modi. Everyone knows that closer to the election, they will have to come together. What they need to convince people is that they are capable of working together, that they can hang together, that they can be trusted to form a stable alternative, that they have an alternative in the first place, that they are pratipaksha, not just vipaksha. They offer they offer alternatives, constructive criticism. This is the moment to focus on that. And three, finally, eventually when we need electoral alliance of the opposition, which we will, even there a hold-all alliance of everyone who's willing is not a very smart strategy at all. In fact, there are not more than 200 seats in Lok Sabha where opposition unity of any kind, an opposition electoral coalition of any kind is necessary and useful, which is to say Maharashtra, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Jharkhand. In Rajasthan, which opposition unity do you want? In Punjab, it would be stupid. In Punjab, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, it would be silly to form an anti-BJP alliance. BJP is not there. And in Bengal and in Andhra Pradesh, they don't need another party. Or in Odisha, they don't need an alliance. So opposition alliance, even eventually, will have to be a fairly limited affair. Therefore, I think at this moment, we should talk, the opposition, which can play a very critical role, should be focused on that big picture of offering itself as a pratipaksha that can be taken seriously, that can be trusted, which has something credible to say.
So you're in a very interesting, you're seemingly suggesting that opposition unity is actually not the, just a minute, is not the real idea. It has to go beyond it. It has to come into some kind of political cohesion with credibility. And that really, Supriya Srinath, is the point, that there is an elephant in the room, which is the Congress party itself. As those numbers of mood of the nation are showing, the Congress party may be critical for opposition unity, but does the Congress party carry credibility, leadership credibility, organizational credibility to take the opposition along? That this is the Congress party itself is seen as the Kamzor Kadi. And unless the Congress party gets its act together, how is the opposition going to revive? What is the Congress? The Congress is the part of the problem, not the solution.
Farthest from the truth, and this is all
I'll let you come, Priyanka, after that.
2004, when India was shining.
Yes. Go ahead, Supriya.
Pre-2004, when India was shining and when the world thought nobody could stop Mr. Vajpayee, and when each one of you and each one of us, I mean, I was in journalism as well, we all raised questions on, can Congress ever sue together an alliance, a coalition? Congress can never do it. And guess what? The Congress didn't just do it. It was one of the most successful coalitions in Indian political history. 10 years. The highest growth rate, the highest rate of nutrition, you know, human development index and all of that. I'm not going to talk about this. I will come back to the
point that we are in 2021, ma'am, where the Congress is not the party of 2004.
1 second, Rajdeep.
You don't want to cede space to anyone.
Rajdeep, you
don't want to cede space to Aam Aadmi Party, for example, or TRS or YSRCP. You fought against Mamata Banerjee a few months ago.
I will give you a reason why, but you will have to listen to me.
I will.
Precisely, and we still believe we can fight together to preserve the idea of India that we stand for and that Mamata Banerjee stands for. I will give you a quick 30-second, retort on what you said. We are all coming together because we are anti-Modi. No, we are pro-India. You look at the statement that has been crafted and released by the 19 opposition parties. We want vaccination. We want cash transfers to the poor. We want withdrawal of excise duty, arbitrary fuel prices. We want repeal of the anti-farmers laws. We want unbridled privatization to stop. We want to revive the MSMEs and the Indian economy. We want to enlarge the MNREGA. We want the Supreme Court to monitor a Pegasus probe, and we want political prisoners to be released both in Jammu and Kashmir and those who have been prisoned under CAA. So this is what is bringing together India's opposition, to preserve our democracy, to stand for institutions, to stand for the people. I will, however, say one thing about Mr. KEJRIWAL, with all due disrespect to the Chief Minister of Delhi. There were 9 other Chief Ministers. Why is Mr. KEJRIWAL not there? Because he has to decide. Is he team B of the BJP? He goes to Uttarakhand.
He says he was not invited.
And he promises to make Uttarakhand the Dev Bhumi. Please listen to me. He goes to Uttarakhand and decides to announce not development, not jobs, nothing for youth, but making Dev Bhumi the dharmic sthal of all the Hindus. He has to decide, does he stand for India or is he continue going to be plan B of the BJP? He has to decide for himself. There is an agitation announced by all the 19 parties from the 20th to the 30th of September. All those who believe that the government is wrong and needs to course correct and needs to be held accountable will be a part of the agitation. And those who will not be will perhaps stand with Mr. Modi. They have to stop pretending to oppose Mr. Modi where they actually stand.
Okay, you made your point. Let Priyanka Chaturvedi respond. Priyanka, you've been dying to dive in. Please dive in. Are you saying, are you in favor of some kind of a grand political unity, or is it first to get your agenda together?
So, firstly, this entire idea of, Congress does not have leadership and Congress will not be able to lead, an alternate narrative. I think it's quite a messed up idea and messed up discussion, simply because bringing 19 political parties on one platform, despite so-called leadership vacuum, speaks a lot about what the relevance of a particular national party is. Now, as much as I might be hated by the woke Indians out there who are huge fans of, and I myself personally am a fan of what Swaraj Party was saying, Yogendra Yadavji was saying. But listen, let's talk about facts on ground. Where does Yogendra Yadavji as a political candidate stand in terms of vote share? Where does Swaraj India stand in terms of vote share? For them to decide who will lead the opposition. I'm sorry, please allow me to speak. Allow me to speak. Let's get real. This country needs an opposition. This country needs an alternate narrative. And the alternate narrative of 19 parties, which maybe made me a little less than 60% of India's population and representation of India's population, they have a significant vote share which cannot be denied to them and which cannot be debated and discussed on the basis of what woke Indians think about a particular person, right? Individual. As much as he may be knowledgeable and he carries weight and he has been doing immense work, and as much as I respect him and I'm a fan of his. So I will only talk about an alternate narrative. Alternate narrative to, and it's not about Mr. Narendra Modi. The alternate narrative is about India continuing to be a democracy, continuing to be a parliamentary democracy, continuing to respect the constitution that was drafted by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar ji as the chairperson of the Constituent Assembly, of the entire democracy that we speak about and the constitution that we speak about. And that is what the fight is about.
Okay.
And those who are with the constitution, with the democracy, will continue to speak up and not challenge the opposition rather than challenging the government of the day, who are denying all these platforms to the opposition rather than making a cause for the government of the day. That is my only point, and that is where I will leave it, simply because I think it is time for Indians to decide where they stand in terms of what the future of the country looks like.
So you are claiming this is a battle for the future of the country. Yogendra Yadav, you heard there. Both Supriya Srinath and Priyanka Chaturvedi in a way saying, look, this is not just about plain arithmetic of electoral unity. This is about a larger cause for the fight of democracy. Do you believe that works? It happened in 77 during the emergency, but then you had a Jaiprakash Narayan, which is where I come. Who is that figure? Who is that figure, or who is that, what is the glue that will bring all of these individuals together?
Who was the figure in 2004? I want to ask you, who was the figure in 2004? Why are you going to Jaiprakash Narayan ji?
Because
who was the figure in 2004?
Fight, you said it, madam, you said it's a fight for democracy.
Which were the parties aligned to a non-Bharatiya Janata Party coalition? Which were the political parties? Maybe not all political parties were aligned with this idea, but they came along, right?
Okay.
And people of the country chose to vote for a non-phase, an opposition,
right,
which did not have a phase, but which decided that there has to be a fight for a bigger cause for India. Why do you go to Jaiprakash Narayan ji?
Because
talk about 2004.
Okay.
Let's talk about contemporary politics.
Let's talk about contemporary politics, and therefore Yogendra. No, 1 minute, ma'am. Let Yogendra. I know that both
there is unemployment.
Madam, these are all very well, but there is also, these are unemployment was our top issue. There is I take it. There is unemployment, there is price rise.
No, these are issues that glue people together.
Sure, they are.
Please remember, these are issues that glue people together.
Okay.
Why is it that India shining failed? Because India was shining in cities and Bharat was at the receiving end of government's ignorance and incompetence. Which is exactly what is happening today. Yogendra Yadav used two words, authoritarian and incompetent. I will add insensitive, egoistic, publicity hungry, drunk on power. What not of this government? And that is what is going to bind opposition and bring people to us. You wait and watch.
I always wait and watch. I've been watching politics for 30 years and I love to watch it. I know 18 months ago Shiv Sena was on the other side of the divide. Today it is with the with the Congress.
I mean, these things,
these things happen.
Actually, that should be a question worth debating. Why is it that a party like Shiv Sena thought that we were thwarting this entire idea and concept of India to look at different options? And I think that should be a matter of discussion. A Mahavikas Aghadi, which brought totally different political ideas on the same platform for democracy and for the constitution, is what should be discussed.
The Maharashtra model going national.
I'm hoping India
I must give my friend Yogendra Yadav a final word, since both of you have in a way questioned him. Yogendra Yadav, is there a meeting ground even on this show?
I have just one small request to Priyanka ji, that if we start judging the merit of an argument
this is
by
not
the vote,
I'll come to you, Mr. Mishra.
If we start judging the merit and weight of an argument by vote share of the party, I'm afraid, you can certainly squat me, but do remember, Samit Patra would win all the debates because he would use the same argument against you. Let's not judge debates by that. That's my plea. The substantive, I think I completely agree.
Let him speak now, ma'am. Let him speak.
We hold a significant share in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, sir, while Swaraj Party does not. As much as woke liberals might be wanting to troll me on social media, but that's
let him speak. Let him speak.
Yes, you don't want to do what BJP spokesperson do in studios, namely to allow others to speak.
Yogendra, very quickly, please.
It's precisely because I agree much with what Supriya and Priyanka have said. It's such a critical moment in our history because at stake is our republic. This is not an ordinary election, ordinary time we are discussing. So while opposition unity is something to be discussed, but three things must be avoided. Number one, anti-Modism. This would work to the detriment of opposition. Number two, the idea that one opposition party will bring everyone under their umbrella. This is not 2004. We should be very careful. And number BJP and hold all unity of anyone and everyone who happens to be against Mr. Modi. These three are to be guarded against if we want to have a meaningful opposition in the country. Remember, the challenge is not only opposition unity, but actually to create opposition itself. And I would suggest that in this country, the biggest opposition at this stage is not in Sansad, it is on Sadak, it's on street. That has to be brought in.
Let me therefore give a final word to Mr. Mishra before he gets angry with me. Mr. Mishra, direct question, I want a yes or no answer. Mamata Banerjee, does she want to be the leader of this opposition? Sonia Gandhi, interestingly, is interim president of the Congress. She is supposedly semi-retired. Why should not a Sharad Pawar or a Mamata Banerjee aspire to be UPA chairperson? Why should it only be the Congress party? You've been a former congressman. Would you prefer a Mamata Banerjee today to lead this coalition? Sharad Pawar or Sonia Gandhi? Direct answer. Don't run.
Country is not asking the question that who will be the leader. Country is asking the question that
Exactly.
Why should not Mr. Modi be replaced? That is the main point. I want to effect a clarification here about 2004.
Yes.
2004, the opposition. No, but please listen to this. In fact, it was post-poll arrangement that actually saw a Congress-led government in 2004, not a pre-poll arrangement. Number one. Yes. Secondly, we would like every political party opposed to the BJP to come together. And so therefore, Mamata Banerjee is very clear.
Yes. So you want
all the opposition parties should come together.
No, but that's not. So you're telling Supriya Srinath.
We should have a core committee.
You're telling Supriya Srinath, come up your high horse, get ready to accommodate an Arvind KEJRIWal. Come up your high horse, get ready to accommodate Jagan Reddy.
These parties have to decide for themselves.
I don't think he is saying it. I don't think he is saying it. Allow his party, which was very much a part of the coalition meeting today, to make the choice.
Okay, parties have to decide which side of the divide they are. This is the time the opposition believes that every party, in a way, Supriya Srinath is virtually telling the Aam Aadmi Party and other parties, take a choice now where you stand in the battle against the BJP. You cannot, according to her, have a third front at the moment. You've got to be on either side of the divide, as is Priyanka Chaturvedi suggesting maybe the Maharashtra model goes national. Yogendra Yadav warning that you first need a clear message before you even decide who the messenger is. Mr. Mishra and Yogendra Yadav, Priyanka Chaturvedi, Supriya Srinath, thanks very much for joining us. We didn't have this debate with the BJP because this was about the opposition. They claim they represent almost 60% of the population. Okay, let's turn from there to Afghanistan. 5 days after Afghanistan's fall to Taliban, chaos persists across the country. Thousands of people continue to try and escape the country through the airport. This comes even as members of the hardline group are reportedly going door to door in some parts of Kabul, searching for people who worked with the previous Afghan government. Take a look.
Of all the images to come out of Afghanistan, this one reveals the desperation and helplessness of the Afghanistan people the most. Mothers passing on their babies through total strangers across the wall, without probably even knowing if a reunion is possible or not. It has been 5 days since the Taliban took over Afghanistan, but the rush and chaos still persist in and around the Hamid Karzai International Airport. A sea of humanity is knocking on the doors in a desperate bid to escape Taliban rule.
The other girl, she say, I want education. I want education. I make my life. I make my country. I want to live in the peace. I am very tired in this country.
Anywhere between 500 and 1,500 Indian citizens are still stuck in Afghanistan. Over 250 Indians have camped near the airport for 4 days, waiting for essentials such as food and water. They are in the dark over their evacuation plans.
Ravi, can you just tell us how many people are stuck with you where you are currently?
It's more than 250 people.
And these are families, everyone, little children, all of that?
These ladies, like children, small children, patients, and everyone is here.
So you're currently in hiding where you are with all the other families? You're all in hiding right now from the Taliban?
We are hiding, but there are no security outside even to stop Taliban. If they get information we are here, then we are gone.
Taliban has officially announced amnesty, but the promise is not being met on the ground. The Islamist hardliners are going door to door searching for people who have worked with the Afghan government, warns the Western media, quoting a UN document. There are sporadic protests against the Taliban in many places. Most are spearheaded by ordinary citizens. Many women are at the forefront of the agitation. They risk losing their legal rights once Taliban's Sharia law kicks in. National television channels have already removed female journalists from broadcast. The Taliban are still in talks over government formation, but a major announcement is unlikely anytime soon. With Naveed Sultani in Kabul, Bureau Report, India Today.
And let's stay with the Afghanistan story, because while chaos persists and thousands of people are in a way struggling, the images of Taliban atrocities coming to the fore from Afghanistan, Afghans back in India are desperate in a way to seek asylum. Many of them were seen pleading outside various embassies in Delhi seeking asylum. For these desperate Afghans, they say they will be killed if they are sent back to their home country. Milan Sharma and Anisha Mathur have today's special report.
A tragedy beyond anyone's comprehension. Afghanistan is in a state of chaos. These images tell you why. This man has been caught by a Taliban fighter. His only crime is that he carried Afghanistan's national flag in his vehicle. Now, his fate is not known anymore. Such search and arrest operations have become common. Here is a man being attacked with a weapon by a Taliban terrorist. Visuals like these that are shocking to us have now become normal in Afghanistan. As the situation turns from bad to worse with each passing day, Afghans who had come to India for education, jobs or travel now have only one question on their mind. What will happen if they were to return home?
هیچ آمد بگو ما رو زد ما رو زنار نمیمون کس خانه برای من خودم شخصا بگو لط کرده در کمرم زد من در زمین چادری نمیپوشید
इनने बोला 20 साल पुराने वक्त में ना क्या कहते वैसे ही है सबको मारते हैं वुमेन्स को क्या कहते हैं सड़क में घूमने नहीं देते और एक दिन उनके पीठ में भी कमर में लात मारा क्योंकि इनने वाइट कपड़ा और शूज पहना था
हम यहाँ पे इसीलिए आए हैं कि वी आर एक्सेप्टेड तो हमें यहाँ से ये लोग क्यों बाहर नहीं निकाल रहे जब सब लोग कह रहे हैं कि हमें थर्ड कंट्री भिजवाना चाहते हैं हम सारे कंट्रीज ने अपने आप ही मांग किया हुआ है कि हम अफगानियों का सपोर्ट करेंगे तो अभी यूनिसीआर कहाँ है वो अपना काम क्यों नहीं कर रहे हैं
Like them, many Afghans are knocking doors from the UNHRC to embassies of various countries, but for now to little avail.
फिलहाल देखिए एक तरीके से इनको यहाँ से हटाया जा रहा है सबको क्योंकि यहाँ पर एम्बेसी के बाहर इनकी कोई सुनवाई नहीं हो रही है और इसी तरीके से जिनसे हम बात कर रहे थे उन्होंने कहा कि उनके पति अफगानिस्तान में थे काबुल में थे काफी महीनों से गायब रहे और अभी तक उनका कोई पता नहीं चल पा रहा है
The Afghan in India have one main request. They want refugee cards to be made to ensure that they are not deported to Afghanistan. With Milan Sharma and Anisha Mathur in Delhi. Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's turn to today's Get Real India story, and it comes from Bihar, a state which has been witnessing massive flooding due to incessant rain over the past week. Several houses have been submerged. People are struggling to move to safer places. This is a story of a state which year after year has to battle with the flood waters. Rohit Singh's report from Vaishali.
Their homes completely submerged. These women are saving themselves by climbing onto makeshift bamboo rafts.
तो इस तरीके से आप लोग केले के थंब पे क्यों जा रहे हैं आप लोग?
दिक्कत से न जाई थती है। दिक्कत से न जा रहे हैं। दिक्कत है तो जाई थती।
गाँव में क्या है? पानी पूरा भरा हुआ है।
सब तरफ भरल है पानी। डूबा है दूरा पर। डूबा है न है उपाय कोई तब ना पर अति बेड़ा बना के तब जाई थती।
In Bihar's Vaishali, the flood saga is repeated year after year.
घर में पानी घुसल है, एगो तन्नी को बच्चा है तो उसको दवाई ला जाते हैं। 1 महीना का बच्चा है।
And villagers blame the government for their plight.
पहले अस्पताल क्यों नहीं लेके गए थे इतना दिन से?
पानी में कैसे जाऊं? 8 दिन से पानी है, बहुत डूबा रहे, तनका सा कम लई है तो अब जाई थी। उदहा जम तो गंगा जी में चल जाए, अब सरकार के कोई उपाय ना है, हमरा साला कोई व्यवस्था ना है, पानी में चिवड़ा खा खा के आदमी रहे थे।
It's not just their homes that have been destroyed by the floods. In Lodhipur, most of the banana crop, the source of livelihood, has been ruined. Some farmers have been able to salvage a very small portion of their crop.
अब दहा गया तो क्या करेंगे? जैसे कि नहीं ले जाएंगे तो खाएंगे कहाँ से? ले जाएंगे तब ना 2 रुपया होगा तो आदमी खाएगा, बच्चा बाल बच्चा परिवार घर पर जाएगा।
A bleak future is what people in this region of Bihar are looking at.
बहुत दिक्कत है सर, बहुत दिक्कत है। हम लोग केला के थम जो सूख गया वो काटते हैं, खिलाते हैं, पानी में हम लोग का माल है, और इसी तरह जैसे समय को जैसे निकाल रहे हैं। कैसे हूँ?
पानी कम हो रहा है या फिर बढ़ रहा है?
ना सर, कमा है थोड़ा सा जी।
ऐसे में लोग किसी तरीके से जो है कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि उनकी जिंदगी जो है वो चलती रहे, खाने पीने के लिए जो पैसे की ज़रूरत होती है वो किसी तरीके से मिले। इसके लिए ये लोग पानी में भी जो है केले को लेकर जो है शहरी इलाकों में जा रहे हैं ताकि उसे बेच के 2 पैसे कमा सकें और इनकी ज़िंदगी जो है वो चल सके। लेकिन हालात वैशाली ज़िले में इस वक्त बाढ़ से जो है बेहद गंभीर बने हुए हैं।
ब्यूरो रिपोर्ट, इंडिया टुडे।
Okay, just about enough time to wish you for a weekend which is special because the festive season is here. That's right, King Mahabali is in town. He visited New York en route to Kerala, where he will meet his fellow Keralites. According to folklore, when Mahabali ruled Kerala, everyone was treated equally. It's a utopian story, but it keeps hopes alive. Kerala to see muted celebrations this year for Onam amid spike in the cases. Tomorrow is the final big Onam day. I want to wish all of you a happy Onam and then Raksha Bandhan on Sunday. Stay well, stay safe. Good night, goodbye, namaskar, Jai Hind.